Good morning to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our morning update on what is now dangerous and potentially catastrophic Category 5 Hurricane Melissa in the Atlantic. And I've said that this was probably going to happen, especially judging by how Melissa was doing last night. And now we are fast forward to this morning, and it has happened. Let's start off very quickly right now with the National Hurricane Center, the latest advisory, which came out for the 8 o'clock, which came out literally just minutes ago. So I'm pretty much bringing this to you almost hot off the press. Maximum sustained winds are now at 160 miles per hour, minimum pressure at 913 millibars. And if you're tracking it on a map, it is located at 16.4 north and 78.0 west, and it is moving west at 3 miles per hour, moving very, very slowly. And this is going to be very, very ominous, and just something that Jamaica is going to have to brace for now. It is officially a Category 5, and maybe if that's what causes people to start getting more serious about prepping for the storm, then so be it. But this is going to be a very devastating storm now. I mean, it was always going to be a devastating storm, but I guess now that this is a Category 5, it kind of maximizes the urgency and the potential devastation that might occur for the island of Jamaica, unfortunately. Here's a satellite image this morning of how Melissa is doing, and I don't know why the satellite is being annoying and only not loading everything, but you can see on the frames that we do have, man, this is a incredible storm with such a round eye that you see here in the center. Also a very nice smooth CDO around it. Has that smooth CDO look, and that's actually what somebody called it on Twitter last night, that it was developing a smooth CDO look, and you typically see that once again in higher end hurricanes, especially in the Western Pacific. When storms also tend to be very, very, very intense, you kind of get that look, and it has it this morning, and it also has very, very cold cloud tops in its CDO as well, a lot of pinks too. And as long as this maintains and we don't have some sort of eyewall replacement cycle, I think this is on its way to bottom out, probably as one of the strongest hurricanes in Atlantic history, honestly. Because there's no sign of eyewall replacement cycle, and I could show you that on the radar. And this is the latest radar shot. Finally got the radar site from Jamaica to work. And this is the latest radar shot coming from the island. And let's see, can we actually zoom in? No, we cannot. So I'm just going to show you here. And, let me actually show you through the loop. And pretty much throughout the entire loop, you see we have a very, very strong inner core here with Melissa. And there are some, outer bands that are trying to circulate around the inner core. But at least if you look at the radar loop here, it doesn't seem like there's any of them trying to consolidate into an outer core just yet. So no sign of an eyewall replacement cycle right now. And as long as that doesn't happen once again, this is just going to continue to bomb out and probably become a pretty, pretty intense Category 5 storm. And why was this upgraded to Category 5 intensity? Well, again, Recon was in there. They found a pressure of 916 millibars. They also found flight level winds above 137 knots, or at least that's what is indicated on the map here. But to be more specific, they found flight level winds pretty much at 155 knots. At least that's what's indicated here. And usually, because the National Hurricane Center likes to go with Category 5, with its intensity, by extrapolating the flight level winds, the National Hurricane Center typically only looks at 150 knots of flight level winds or higher before they classify a storm as a Category 5. And Melissa has definitely reached that threshold, has very, very intense flight level winds, and they're probably going to get even more intense as this strengthens and probably becomes even stronger. And why did this all happen again? Well, as I've been warning you for the last several weeks, very, very warm sea surface temperature anomalies here in the Caribbean and we've seen a little bit of cooling now since, as we could see here in the Eastern Caribbean, not as warm sea surface temperature anomalies, and that is definitely thanks to Melissa, but still here in the Central and Western Caribbean, sea surface temperature anomalies at least a degree Celsius above normal, and some areas as well that had even up to 2 degrees Celsius, but obviously maybe those have been already choked off by now since Melissa has kind of been around for quite some time here in the Caribbean, but we still have very, very warm sea surface temperature anomalies that remain. And that just shows the amount of fuel that we had in the Caribbean for Melissa, which obviously, led it to get to this point where it was able to strengthen into a quite powerful storm. And intensification is probably not done so yet. And on a side note, take a look at how warm the Gulf of Mexico is. Boy, if something were to get into these sea surface temperature anomalies, it probably would also be quite an intense storm as well. But luckily, it is now late October, so this is probably not going to manifest into anything. But just looking at how warm the Caribbean was makes sense as to why this was able to strengthen and become a Category 5 storm. And as I've said as well, October is typically the climatologically favored area for the Caribbean. And sometimes this tends to be the breeding ground for these monsters that we get in the Atlantic. And that is what is now unfolding with Melissa. Again, initialized intensity 160 miles per hour. National Hurricane Center actually expects that this is going to strengthen to 165 miles per hour. So we might see some strengthening with the wind. Definitely with the pressure, we're probably going to see a further drop. And just really quickly reload it because I thought something happened here. But 165 miles per hour, and then it weakens to 160 miles per hour. And let me bring you to the cone here of Melissa just to show you where 24 hours out from now is. And that is roughly right around here, I believe. So that it's this point, 160 miles per hour. So the National Hurricane Center is showing that we're going to get a Category 5 hurricane landfall on the island of Jamaica. And just to let you know, and just to really quickly read these off before we leave, we do now have hurricane watches in effect for the Bahamas. But, just to refresh your memory, obviously we have a hurricane warning in effect for Jamaica. And it should be extreme hurricane warning at this point because it's looking increasingly likely that we will get a Category 5 landfall on the island of Jamaica. And it might even be stronger than just a low-end Category 5, especially if Melissa continues to strengthen without any sort of disruption throughout the rest of the day today. And then we have a hurricane warning in effect for the Cuban provinces of Granma, Santiago de Cuba, Guantanamo, and Holguin. And we have a hurricane watch in effect now, new as of this morning, hurricane watch in effect for southeastern and central Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, tropical storm warning in effect for Haiti, and for the Cuban province of Las Tunas. So keep in mind of all of that. We're going to continue to monitor the progress of Melissa throughout the day today. I'm going to have another update later this afternoon because my schedule for school is going to be a little bit crammed today. Monday tends to be my longest day with classes, so I'm unfortunately not going to be able to do anything until later in the day. But we're going to continue to monitor Melissa and follow me on Twitter for updates throughout the day. I'll be trying to give you as many updates as possible, notifying you about recon and latest intensity. So make sure to follow me on Twitter, and if you've not already done so, follow me on YouTube as well for more updates that we will be doing later today. And we probably also will be doing a live stream as well, going over the latest on now dangerous and devastating Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. With that being said, I'm going to wrap it up for this morning's update. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it informative. Enjoy the rest of your day. And if you're in Jamaica, batten down the hatches and start getting to your shelter place right now because things are going to deteriorate throughout the day today. And it's only going to get worse from here on out before we finally have the landfall, probably tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.